Hey, thank you so much for joining us at our Crosspoint Church podcast. Now, if you're new to our podcast or maybe new to our church in general, we're just a bunch of messed up people who don't have it all together, running after a heavenly leader who loves us and meets us right where we are. We hope this message encourages you, builds your faith, and strengthens your confidence as you continue down this journey of what it means to know and follow Jesus. Enjoy this message.
All right. Hey, Crosspoint, how are we doing this weekend? You guys doing good out there today? Man, so good to see you this weekend. We are wrapping the series up this weekend, taking a look at Freaky Friday. This will be a lot of fun. A lot of fun this weekend as we unpack some of the just fibers of faith, some of the things that this movie deals with that God actually has some things to say and give us tools on that are really, really relevant to our lives. So we're going to look at that in just a moment. First of all, let's make some noise for those joining online this weekend. We are so excited to have you joining us from wherever you're tuning in from this weekend, and excited to have you with us as a part of this experience. Now, my name's Curt, and if you're here for the first time, we have free movie tickets coming your way, and that includes those of you online. So if you didn't fill out the connection card, go ahead and fill that out. Let us know where we can send those this week. And this is your last chance to invite someone to get free movie tickets. And we got multiple services this weekend, so you still have some opportunities to do that. Of course, online is going to be there all week long. You might want to invite somebody to come sit with you, watch with you this week that you've been wanting to introduce to Crosspoint, and that perhaps maybe this topic would just be really, really relevant. So make sure you take care of that today, and we'd love to get you some free movie tickets. Now, this weekend, Freakier Friday. This is the second installment, 22 years later, after the original version. And we're going to look today at how to deal with the bad blood in our relationships. Because let's be honest, we all at times have relationships that go a bit sour, and there's some bad blood, and we don't always know what to do in them. Well, this movie gives us some cues, and then we're also going to look at some things God has to say about this. Now, Freakier Friday, this is 22 years after the first film came out, and now Anna Coleman, who's played by Lindsay Lohan, she's an adult, and she's a music producer, and by choice, she's a single parent, and she's raising her teenage daughter on her own, though she gets occasional help from her mom, who is Tess, though it's a little more than occasional. Her mom is really in her life a lot, and that is Jamie Lee Curtis. And basically, this story kind of begins to form where her daughter, Harper, meets a new student that's from another country, from Britain, and they just clash. And they're in classes together. She doesn't like this new student's attitude. She feels like she's kind of has a snobbish personality. They end up lab partners in chemistry class, and they end up getting themselves in a pretty deep predicament, and it destroys a whole bunch of stuff in the lab. They get sent to the principal's office. Their parents have to come in, and so Harper's mom, Anna, who's a single mom, is at the principal's office as well. Lily's dad, Eric, who's a single dad, is in the principal's office. They kind of fall for each other. They start dating. Before long, they're engaged, and they're on a road toward marriage. And so Lily and Harper can't stand each other. So there's a lot of bad blood going on right here. Now, if you're not familiar with this franchise, something really kind of unique happens where lightning strikes and all these different characters switch places. And that happens in this one. So these soon-to-be, stepsisters, all of a sudden, you got Harper who becomes Anna, and Anna who becomes Harper, and then you've got Lily, kind of the new student, who becomes like Harper's grandma, Tess, and they switch places, and it really begins to give them a change in perspective. And so, and if that is all confusing, let me just show you a scene here, because this might clear it up right here. Take a look at this. So they're all trying to understand, okay, my life just changed because I'm now living somebody else's life, which is really kind of cool if you think about it, because now they get to see each other's life from the other person's perspective. And they actually get to, in a sense, literally walk in one another's shoes. And so this gives us a really good opportunity to talk about this. How do we deal with the bad blood? Because we can learn a lot of stuff from this movie. And again, if we're honest, we all have been there in moments where we have bad blood in important relationships. So a big idea I want us to realize today is if you have a relationship that's characterized by bad blood, you can have a peace about that relationship even if there's never a peace in that relationship. All right, so you may have tried. You're like, I just don't know what else to do. We're going to talk a bit about that. But there's a way to have a peace about that relationship, even if there's never peace in that relationship. And when we begin to recognize this, it actually leads to greater joy. It leads to, a lot more happiness, and we just enjoy life a lot more. And that's one of the things God really wants for us. So we're going to take some cues from this movie. We're going to come back to it later on. And then we're also going to take a look at a few things God says. So the person we're going to start with in Scripture today is a guy we look at a lot. His name's the Apostle Paul. And he's somebody who gives a lot of like tools and hey, this is how this works, and this is what it means to follow God the way God designed life to work. And so Paul, he writes more than half of the New Testament, all right? And he's a prolific writer. He also is extremely passionate, all right? We get pieces of that, but he's very educated. He's actually an attorney by training. And so here's what Paul writes to these first century Christians in Romans, in Romans, the book of Romans, but in the city of Rome, as they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we do all this relational stuff together? Here's what he says. He says, live at peace with everyone, all right? Which you probably see that and you go, okay, Paul, that is way easier said than done, right? Like you obviously didn't have a mother-in-law in your life, right? You obviously didn't have any in-laws. Maybe you never had like a roommate that you just couldn't stand or a coworker that was just so annoying or like this movie. Maybe you never had a soon-to-be stepsister that you could not handle. And so, like, that's just a lot easier to say than to do. Or, maybe you're somebody who's wired for that. If you've ever done like a Clifton Strengths assessment, harmony is actually one of the 34 competencies when it comes to Clifton Strengths. And so if harmony's in your top 10, you might be like just naturally wired for harmony. Like you probably put a lot of time into making sure there's peace in relationships. And so this is easy for you. Now, there's others of us like myself. In fact, this is my Clifton Strengths assessment, and harmony is not in my top 10, it's not in my top 20, or even my top 30. Believe it or not, it's actually the lowest competency that I have in all of my Clifton Strengths. And this has been a challenge for me in my life because I generally am not looking for harmony. I do a lot of disrupting. I can do harmony. I have to work at it really hard, but I'm not wired to do this. So when I see this phrase, live at peace with everyone, I'm just like, that just seems about the biggest pie in the sky ideal that there could be out there. All right, so one of the hardest things for us to kind of comprehend and grasp is the weight of these words right here, and that really has to do with who they're coming from. All right, so this is coming from Paul, and I just don't know that we'll ever fully understand how much bad blood he had in his life. All right, because when we understand that or just get glimpses of that, it actually makes what he says all that much more powerful. So understand, Paul was up to his eyeballs in bad blood. All right, he was a man in his former life who used to persecute Christians. So he hated people who were following Jesus. He called himself a zealot. That was like his own admission, which a zealot is somebody who's like fanatical and uncompromising on some ideal religious posture or like political posture. So he's like unrelenting on this. He was out to get anyone who was a follower of Jesus. He'd persecute them. He would imprison them. He was even responsible for overseeing the death of Christians. And then one day, literally one day, in just a moment, he flipped his life. He had an experience with Jesus where he met the real Jesus, and it flipped his life. And he went from being a hater of the church and Christians and Jesus followers to being one of the pioneers of the early church. And so when we see Paul's story, it's easy to look back on and go, oh, wow. Like historically, we look back and we go, that's amazing, Paul. Like, way to go, dude. Like you literally saw the light, like you saw Jesus, and you changed and you turned and, you started hating people and you started helping people. Like that's amazing. I don't know that it's even possible for us, myself included, to fully grasp how difficult relationships would have been for him. All right, because see, he's now trying to have relationships. He's now beginning to follow Jesus, so he's now beginning to have relationships with people that he used to persecute. He's now wanting to be in relationship with people that he, like, threw some of them in prison. He's even wanting relationships with people that he's responsible for the killing of their family members. And they're kind of like, seriously, Paul? Like, now you want to be cool with us. All right? So, like, a lot of bad blood right there. And so this is a guy that he knew a bit about how important it was to try to do his best to live at peace with everyone. Because he had bad blood on both sides, right? He had bad blood with the people he persecuted, the people he's put in prison, the family of people who he actually was responsible for killing, right? But he also had bad blood on the other side now because he's actually switched to following Jesus. So all of his former colleagues, all the people he used to do life with, friends, they're angry. They're like, dude, you switched. You bailed on us, man. Who are you? And so he has enemies like across the board. All right, so when he says like, hey, live at peace with everyone. All right, I think he just understands that like your life is just so much better if you can figure out how to do this. And you're going to enjoy it a lot more. So he throws a couple phrases around this verse that we're looking at right here that I want to unpack a bit, all right? Here's the first one right here. First of all, he adds on this, he says, if it is possible, live at peace with everyone. Meaning, it might not be possible, all right? Because some of you are sitting here and going, I just don't know if it's possible. All right, you might be thinking, man, I have tried to live at peace with them and it just hasn't happened. I mean, I have tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I just know that if peace is possible, I mean, that I should try to do that, right? But I've tried it and it's not going well. And there's two sides to that as well, right? There's like the side where you're like, hey, I've tried this and it hasn't gone well, and I keep trying, but I feel like I'm at a dead-end street, and I don't have peace yet in that relationship. And if there was something else that I knew I could do, I mean, I certainly would do it, but I'm at a dead-end road right now. Or on the other end of that, there's some of us that are like, man, I never thought that I'd have a relationship with this person. And we had so much bad blood, but here we are, and we actually did work things out, and now, we kind of have a relationship that's, characterized by like kindness and respect and like goodwill toward one another. And so he's like, I'm just telling you, like, good news, it may be possible. Bad news, it may never be possible. All right, and some of us, like, that's the same for us as well. And so the relationship that you have that's characterized by bad blood, I mean, there just may never be peace in that. And I just want you to know, like, if you're just like struggling with that a bit, I want you to know that the pursuit of peace, all right, without the promise of peace, like, it's not a pointless endeavor. All right? It's not a pointless pursuit. It's worth pursuing. Now, Paul also adds another phrase in here that helps us, again, understand a little bit more about what he's like calling us to right here. All right, and so he says, if it's possible, and then look at these next words right here. He says, as far as it depends on you. All right, as far as it depends on you. In other words, I don't know if it's going to be possible. All right? I really don't know if it's going to be possible. But, I've seen it. I didn't think it was going to be possible, but it's happening. I've seen it. I thought it would be possible. I thought, man, this is totally going to get worked out, and it's not happening. But I'm trying to do everything I know to do to try to make peace. And so he says, as far as it depends on you. Now, that's a really, really powerful phrase right there. All right, so I want to unpack a few words in this right here real quick. First word is you. All right, how many of you have heard it makes some noise if you've heard the phrase, you do you. You guys heard this phrase? Maybe you use the phrase, you do you? Yeah, you do that? You like that? Some of us are like, yeah, I love that phrase. I have a bit of a tension with that phrase, because sometimes I'm like, I hear people go, well, you do you. Like, don't worry about everybody else. Just do your life. Don't worry about how it affects everybody else. I'm like, I don't know that I like that fully. But then I use it at times. Like, sometimes my kids are going out the door, and I'm like, hey, you do you today, right? Like don't follow what everybody else is doing. You do you. Or maybe you've got a best friend who's getting ready to go on a blind date, and he's just like, man, I don't know if she's going to like me. I don't know if she's going to like my shirt. I don't know if she's going to like my clothes. And you're like, dude, you do you, man. You rock. Like, don't change who you are. Like, be your authentic self. You do you. Or maybe you have another friend who she's getting ready to go to her boss, and walk into her office and ask for a raise. And you're just kind of like, I don't know if that's going to happen. But you do you. You go in there, you tell her what you're worth. You do you. So, I mean, we kind of use this to like encourage people, right? I want to change the meaning on this a bit, all right? Because it's kind of an indictment on our narcissism in a certain sense. So I want to talk about what Paul says right here regarding you when he says, hey, as far as it depends on you. All right? And here's what I mean by that. In the relationship, whatever relationship you perhaps have going on where there's some bad blood right now, where do you spend most of your energy in that relationship? It's focusing on the other person, right? It's on them. It's like most of your energy is directed to, like, if they would stop, if they would change, if you would just get over yourself, if you'd quit being so selfish, like, we could actually have a relationship. And so what Paul's telling us right here, he's saying, hey, as far as it's possible, all right, as far as it depends on you, let's stop talking about them. All right, let's start talking about, okay, what depends on me? All right, what can I do in this situation? All right, and then he says another phrase. He says, as far as it depends. Now, depends, that's got a lot of meanings in our culture. Like, there's certain products I don't even want to get into because it might distract you a bit, that have to do with depends. But he says, as far as it depends, let me ask you, what in that context, or wherever you might have bad blood right now, what in that context depends on you? right? In that relationship, what depends on you? In that situation, I mean, what would you say depends on you? We did a series almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, called Starting Over. And it was an amazing series. You can go check it out if you want to look at it. It's online in our previous weekends. And basically we spent a lot of time and a lot of energy and tried to just bring a lot of ideas on like how do we deal with what depends on us? How do we own kind of where we are and how we go forward? Now, let me give you an example of this. So a number of years ago when my kids were younger, I remember waking up one day and everybody's still in bed. I walk out of our bedroom. We have a big loft outside of our bedroom, and often it was scattered with toys, and it's a bit dark. So I'm walking out, getting ready to go downstairs, make coffee, and I step in my bare feet on a Lego. Now, have you ever noticed that you never step on a Lego when you wear shoes? Like, you just never do. Like, I don't think in my whole life I've ever stepped on a Lego with shoes on. Like, I always step on Legos, like, in bare feet, and it's like the smallest little thing, right? It's, like, so tiny, but it's, like, it is so piercing, and I just like, oh, my gosh, and I thought I'd, injected it into my foot, and I start, like, screaming and yelling, and I'm picking it up, and I'm throwing it, and I'm like, Matt Walter, I knew it was my son. I'm like, Matt, get out here. And I'm like, no, stay in your room. Why I'm just kind of going off. They're all still in the rooms. Nobody's budged. All right, this is my little tirade going on. And my wife, we're kind of a yin and a yang, so we can both get pretty emotional at times. Usually when I'm really kind of emotional, she's like, all right, Curt, that's a little ridiculous. We need to bring it down. She's like the sane one. And she's like, I just don't know that you're going to be real happy about like how this is all playing out, like, how you handle that. And it's vice versa. Sometimes she can get a little bit emotional, and I'm the one that's sane, believe it or not, in those moments. So anyway, a few days later, I was doing like a project around the house, and our kids were playing together. It was just one of those like beautiful moments where they're like, hey, would you help me with this? And one of them's helping the other one. And I'm like, this is just like every parent's dream right here. And then all of a sudden, it went from like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. And it's like, would you get out of here? Why'd you knock that down? Get out of my face. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on right here? And they're like, well, we're just doing what you did when you were cleaning up, the house, like, last week. I'm like, oh, don't you bring what happened last week into this conversation. That was so last weekend. You know what I'm talking about? But that's what they did. They're like, yeah, we just did what we saw you do, Dad. So that depends on me. Like what they mimicked and did, like I'm like, yeah, I got to own that. That depends on me. So in whatever that relationship is with you where there's some bad blood, I want you to think about it this way. All right, I want you to ask yourself, what's my part? All right, so let's think of this as the relationship right here. All right, and you've got to ask, okay, what's my part? And most of us go, well, I mean, it's like 50-50, right? I mean, the bad blood, it's 50% her, it's 50% me. Nobody ever does that. Just you would be a stellar human being if you did that right there. All right, so maybe it's like, okay, it's 25% me, 75% them. All right, I'm just going to be honest. It's mostly them. I'm not going to take too much. And you would still be a pretty amazing individual if you did that. It's like, did you hear what she said to me? I'm like, I wasn't like totally innocent in the situation, but I'm probably like 10%, 90% her, 10% me. So, I mean, and so whatever it is, you just got to own your part. All right, however much you decide to own, like that's inconsequential. We just have to say, okay, what's my part in this that I need to own? What piece of the pie do I need to own? What depends on me? All right, you're right, I did have an outburst, and then my kids mimicked the very thing that I did. That's on me. I got to own that. All right, I did say that. I shouldn't have said that. All right, that's on me. So again, it may not even be that big a piece of the pie. It's just okay. Just figuring out, okay, what depends on me in this situation right here. So I think the reason Paul uses this language, he says, as far as it depends on you, is because he wants us to see there's a distance here. There's like a length to this situation right here. And maybe you've done everything you know to do, all right? Maybe you feel like, hey, I've gone as far as I feel like I can go to try to make things right. Let me just ask you a question, all right? Because this is a good question. I think we all need to be asked this question at times. All right, can you go any further? All right, as you think about that situation, can you go any further? Is there anything additionally that you can do? All right, so you guys aren't speaking right now. All right, totally aren't speaking right now. Okay, is there anything that perhaps you haven't tried yet that might help you like bring some resolution to this? Or, okay, I understand what's happening. There's no relationship. All right, but maybe tomorrow you're going to wake up and it's going to hit you. Go, oh my gosh, I haven't thought of it this way. This is something I could do to see if we could bring a little peace to this relationship. All right, so I think it's just a good question to ask. Is there anything I can do to go further? All right, because Paul says, do everything you can do. All right, so let me call a timeout on this conversation for a moment. So I just want to be really clear on this as well. There does come a point where you just kind of probably get to the point where you're like, enough is enough. All right, and I don't really have a lot of time to drill into this concept, but there's this whole idea of boundaries. And kind of like, I have certain boundaries, and boundaries are like, I'm going to do so much, but when I don't see movement from you or ownership from you, at some point I got to say, well, I've done all that I can do. And there may even come a point where it becomes appropriate for you to say enough is enough, and it may even be the responsible thing to do. And so I just want to acknowledge, I just want you to know there comes a point where that happens, all right? What I'm getting at is peace is possible for you when you've done all that you can do, all right? Even if there's never peace in the relationship, you can have a peace about the relationship. And so I just want us to understand that the peace actually begins to happen when we feel like, okay, I've done everything I can do. And of course, the big question is, okay, how do I know when I've done everything I can do, right? Well, this is a really good thing to, dialogue with in your community, like with your small group or with people that, love and care for you and will speak honestly into your life, or maybe even with your therapist. If your therapist says, hey, I think you're right, you've done all that you can do, then I think you can begin to have peace, saying, okay, if it's at all possible, and as it depends on me, I've done all I can do to keep peace. Now, I want to give you just one next step, all right? I'm going to give all of us one next step this week in terms of something we can do on this week. Now, in fact, actually, I'm going to give you two next steps. Here's the first one. We'll come back to that one in just a second. First of all, I want to really encourage you to come back next week. And next weekend, we begin a brand new series. And the very first next step on your connection cards, digital, and your printed versions are, hey, I'll return next weekend. And so we're going to start a new series called 4. And we're going to be talking about how, some of the things God's calling us to and things in our community that are way bigger than us and how we get to be a part of that. And so if you are a part of the Crosspoint community, call this home, are looking for a home church, want to know more about what the heartbeat of this place is, really want to encourage you to just make it a priority to be here next weekend and the following weekend. These are going to be 2 weekends where we're going to kind of press in. We're going to hear some really cool stories of what God is doing in people's lives and how he's actually bringing them to him and helping people take steps toward him. And just really, really cool stuff. And we're going to celebrate that, but we're also going to invite God to just do some renewing in our hearts for what he's doing in our community. So I really hope that you'll plan to be with us next weekend. And you might just want to mark that. Maybe it's just saying right now, here's where I'm going to attend Thursday next week, or one of the Sunday services, or I'm going to be online. But I just really encourage you to make that a next step this weekend. All right, so back to this one next step for today. All right, this is a really powerful next step in regards to being able to say, okay, as far as it depends on me, I feel like I've done everything I can do to keep peace with everyone. All right, so this kind of hit me this past week when I was out on a golf course. In fact, I've been spending a lot of time on golf courses, not playing, but my daughter's playing golf, so I do a lot of spectating right now. And I heard a guy that I follow talk about this a while back, and I was just sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is so relevant to what we're talking about. Now, if you don't play golf, I can't help you with that. Like, you're going to have to find somebody else for that. But, like, seriously, get your life together if you don't play golf, all right? Like, figure out how to do that, all right? So I was on the golf course, and I love, like, being a golf spectator, by the way. And I'm not talking like PGA and LIV. I'm talking like high school golf. Here's why I love it. I'm an introvert. I get to walk around for 2 hours on a golf course in beautiful weather, and they say, don't talk to anybody. Shh, be quiet. I'm like, I love spectating golf. It's just like a beautiful thing. So anyway, I'm standing out there, and this young lady is what really good golfer. She's lining up a putt, all right? And if you don't golf, or if you watch golf, or I don't know, if napping is a recreational thing you do during golf, you just follow me on this. I think you'll understand where we're going on this, right? So this young lady, she's like down. She's like lining up her putt. All right, she's trying to figure out, okay, what's the grain? How's the ball going to move when I putt this? And so she's just down, like looking at this and looking at this and looking at this. And then all of a sudden, she stands up, and she just walks slowly around the green to the other side. And you go, okay, what is she doing? Maybe you've seen people doing this. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, man, she's a good golfer. She's doing what the pros do, right? Like, she's like the people who make money doing this is what they do. right? They walk to the other side. She's not going to like do a different thing. She's actually looking at the same shot. She's just sizing it up from the other side. What she's trying to figure out is, is there anything that I might see from this side that would help me understand how I need to respond on the other side? And when you think about it, I mean, what is she seeing from this side that she's not going to see from that side? I mean, I don't know. She probably sees 85, 90% of what's happening from this side. But she comes around here to say, okay, is there anything I might see? Is the break? I mean, is the green the same over, am I seeing the same thing? Because what she realizes is that what I see over here might radically change the actions and what I do over here. Now, I want you to think about that in relationship to perhaps that relationship where you have bad blood. I mean, think about this for a moment. If you've got a relationship in your life, all right, so this is me and you, and in this relationship, everything's going good right now, all right? We got goodwill, we got respect. I mean, we're mutually, respectful and kind to one another. And then all of a sudden, bum, 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 like something happens, right? Like something happens, and all of a sudden you've got bad blood, all right? You're like, did you hear what she said about me? I mean, can you believe whatever it is, all drama kind of breaks loose, and all of a sudden there's kind of stuff going on in this relationship, all right? And so what was a healthy relationship now is a relationship that's really kind of, defined by dissonance. All right, there's something's happened in the middle and created some bad blood. Or you might go, that's not really my deal. I mean, mine is a little more like a frenemy. There's somebody like I spend a lot of time with, but like one day it feels like everything's good, and then the next day it's not. Some days we're cool and like everything's going fine, then all of a sudden the next day, like there's all this drama, and you would define that relationship as complicated, all right? And so that's a little bit of a different, scenario. Or maybe even, God forbid, you've got this one going on where there's a relationship and it looks a little more like this right here. I mean, so like you don't even talk anymore, right? We're not even connected. So here's the step. Here's the step that all of us can take on this, all right? And I'm telling you, this would just change so much. What if we took a long walk around to the other side? Like, what if we tried to say, okay, everything I'm seeing from this side looks this way, but what if we just said, okay, just like in golf, like great golfers take a long walk around to the other side and say, okay, what if I looked at this differently? Brene Brown, she's done a lot of work on empathy over the years. In fact, she's a professor at the University of Houston. You may have seen her on TED Talks. She's like one of the most popular TED Talks ever. I think like 67 million views on vulnerability and empathy. She talks a lot about empathy. In fact, kind of a summary of what she's done a lot of work on is this idea that empathy is the central tool in regards to creating healthy relationships. Now, she references another individual, a lady by the name of Teresa Wisman, and she's a nursing scholar, and she has developed these 4 qualities of empathy, and these have just been like super helpful to me. So I want to give these to you real quick as we think about what does it look like to walk around to the other side? What if I just get something that's a bit different when I look at things from the other side? So she gives us 4 qualities, and here's what she says. The first one is this: take on their perspective as truth. All right, with somebody that maybe you're not seeing eye to eye, you've got some bad blood. What if when you walk around to the other side, you go, oh, this is what they're seeing, and you may or may not agree with it, but you go, okay, out of positive intent, I'm going to say perspective right here is generally, I'm going to take this as truth. All right, and so that's the first step. And then the second step is to suspend judgment, all right? So we say, okay, I'm going to take your perspective, whatever that is, as truth, and then I'm going to suspend judgment, all right? Because see, what judgment does is judgment actually discounts the other person's experience, all right? And that doesn't mean that, like, I'm not going to, like, pay attention to my feelings. That also doesn't mean that what you did to me is right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm going to suspend my judgment. And then I'm going to recognize their emotion. I'm going to try to understand, okay, when I walk around, what exactly is it they're feeling on this side? All right, when I look at it from their perspective, what exactly is, what is the emotion they're feeling? And then 4, I'm actually going to articulate that emotion. All right, I'm not just going to say, oh, I know this is what it is. No, I'm going to actually try to articulate it and do my best to actually feel it when I get there. Okay, this is what they must be feeling from this side. All right, I'm going to try to step in your shoes, if you will. So I'm going to take on their perspective. I'm going to suspend judgment. I'm going to recognize their emotion. Then I'm going to articulate, okay, I think this is what they're feeling. Now this is very different than sympathy right here. All right, sympathy is simply acknowledging what the other person feels. All right, but empathy is a bit different. Empathy, however, is feeling what the other person is feeling. And the only way you can do that is when you walk around to the other side. You take the long walk around. And so, as we think about relationships where we're having some difficulty, empathy can be the key to actually opening dialogue that can lead to healthier relationships. Where we go, oh my gosh, maybe I need to hear your whole story. Hey, tell me how you're feeling. I guess I don't understand how you're feeling. Maybe I need to put myself in your shoes for a bit and try to feel what you're feeling. Because I think Taylor's right? I mean, that song we heard earlier, like Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes. But I'm telling you, when we continue to approach our bad blood by just looking at it from our own side, that's not going to help either. And so when we look at it from our own side, I mean, all we do is continue to affirm our position, to affirm, what we think we already know. And if you want to find peace in a relationship, and certainly about the relationship, the only way to do that is to take the long walk around to the other side. Because see, empathy can't fix bullet holes, but empathy actually is first aid for bad blood. So back to our movie this weekend. That's what makes this movie so cool. I mean, Freakier Friday, all these people switch places. And it's so cool because when they do that, they literally begin walking in somebody else's shoes. They begin seeing life through their lens. I mean, Harper and Lily begin to see their lives. They're trying to keep their parents from getting married. I mean, they're like, this is the last thing we want. And then all of a sudden, they begin to see life differently when they change roles with their parent. All right? And they switch places and they begin to feel, not just like see what they've been seeing, but they begin to feel what they've been feeling. And it actually heals their relationship. Now, that's the magic of movies, right? Because you're like, oh, I can't just like put my palms together and bam, we're all of a sudden different people walking in each other's shoes. I mean, that's the beauty of what movies can kind of create for us. And yet, there's certainly some things we can learn from this, and there's some things we can learn from the Apostle Paul. And see, here's what's kind of cool. This really is the core of what God is about. I don't know if you realize this or not, but everything we've been talking about, did you know that God took a very long walk of empathy himself? I mean, God crammed, all of his divinity into a body, and he took a long walk to planet Earth. I mean, because he wanted to feel what you feel. I mean, he tried to communicate with us through the clouds. He tried to communicate through tablets. That didn't work. He tried to communicate through men, through women. That didn't go so well. I mean, he's kind of like, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to have to come down. I'm going to have to walk in your shoes. See, Jesus is the fullest expression. Think about this. Jesus is the fullest expression of God's empathy. I mean, Jesus is like an exclamation point of empathy. I mean, it's him saying, hey, I want to know what it feels like to walk in your shoes. He didn't have to do that, but he chose to do that. And so when he says to us, hey, I just want you to forgive. All he's saying is, I want you to forgive others the way I've forgiven you. When he asks us to love, he's just like, man, I just want you to love others the way that you've received and experienced love from me. When I ask you to show mercy, I mean, I just want you to extend like the same level of mercy that you've gotten from me that's fresh and new every single morning, when I've shown you mercy. And here's what's crazy. When we choose to make the long walk of empathy, we're actually mirroring what our Heavenly Father did for us. Think about that. So don't do this for me. I mean, as you think about this relationship, don't do it for me. Don't do it for anybody else. I mean, do it for yourself, but also perhaps do it for your Heavenly Father, because you're actually modeling and mirroring the very thing he did for you. And so this week, let's take the long walk of empathy. I mean, God, he took the long walk of empathy so that he could not only understand the bad blood that we had, but to fix our bad blood. I mean, that's what he did when he sent Jesus. And he says, hey, I just want you to go. I want you to do the same. Let me pray for us. Heavenly Father, it's so much harder to do than to talk about. For the person who is perhaps sitting, watching, that has a relationship that just feels done. I mean, just feels done. Perhaps we've not spoken in years. They've written them off. But every now and then when it gets quiet, I begin to hear whispers. God, I just pray that perhaps today would be a game-changing day. that perhaps you'd allow them to see that relationship from a different point of view. Maybe we might even go, maybe I haven't gone as far as I could. Maybe there's something else I can do. And we choose to take the long walk of empathy. God, I know there's no situation that's simple enough where this is just solely going to fix it. I mean, it's because of your grace that any of our relationships make it. So God, I just pray that you would please be patient with us. God, would you please just be gracious to us? Help us to follow in your footsteps. Help us follow in the footsteps of Jesus when he took that long walk all the way to us so that we can know you. And when we do, I pray that whether there's peace in that relationship or not, that we can feel peace about that relationship, even if it feels damaged and done, because we feel like we've done all we can do. And so we just pray that you help lead us in this week. Show us what to do. And we pray these things according to you, Jesus, your character. Amen. Hey, let's go ahead and stand to our feet. We're going to sing one more song that kind of talks about this, kind of put some words on our lips so we can walk out of here and actually choose to lean into this.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Take a moment to follow our podcast on your preferred platform, and be sure to download our app to stay informed on everything happening here at Crosspoint. And if you like what you heard today, don't hesitate to share it with a friend that might need to hear it too.